Alright guys, the latest rumor right now on the sequel to The Batman is that the villain is going to be Hush. Now this comes from a inside news source or a scooper named Jeff Snyder. I'm sure a lot of people might know who that person is. And like I always say, when it comes to scoopers and rumors and leaks about these types of movies and leaks and rumors in general about the film industry, always take it with a grain of salt. Of course this stuff is fun to talk about and theorize, but that does not mean in any way it is confirmed. Although Jeff Snyder has claimed that he has heard whispers that Hush is going to be the villain of the sequel. In the first film, if you don't remember or possibly didn't even know this, there is a part in the movie with a news broadcast where it's basically confirmed Thomas Wayne and Carmine Falcone silenced Edward Elliot, a news reporter who was going to reveal some Wayne family secrets. On the screen was a photo of Thomas Wayne, black and white, with the words Hush spelled on top of them. There's no way that's not some sort of Easter egg. I mean, you're using the Elliot family name and you're spelling Hush in connection to Thomas Wayne and the Elliots. But some people have theorized that possibly in the future, Thomas Elliot could use that motivation as revenge on the Wayne family, in which he will target Bruce Wayne. Personally, I think that is one of the more likely storylines they could go down with the Batman 2, and just in general, a villain they could likely use as well. This film is obviously still about 2.5 years away. Who knows? We'll see if it gets delayed anymore. Although we do see a lot of discourse on the type of villains that the fans would like to see in the future of this franchise. It seems to be a very popular fan demand to want Mr. Freeze in this sequel. Now, Mr. Freeze is obviously a little more of a supernatural character compared to other Batman villains, considering he is operating at a below freezing temperature, using this highly advanced technological suit to keep him alive, and using advanced technology to shoot ice rays and other ice projectiles from guns and other types of weapons. This is absolutely a villain who could have existed in Zack Snyder's world with a Ben Affleck movie. I don't necessarily know how this would work in a more grounded reality of which Matt Reeves is building. There is nothing in the first film that told me this world does operate a little more on the supernatural side. Although Matt Reeves could always prove me wrong and he could always find a way to go down that route intelligently, I just don't know if that is what he's going to do. I think very likely villains for the future of this franchise is, well, of course you've had the Riddler, and I'm sure the Riddler will pop back up from time to time. They already showed off the Joker, unless by some weird circumstance they decide to go in a different direction for the Joker, but he is of course a future potential villain. If he's already been featured once, he's going to be featured multiple times after that. Penguin is another one, a very realistic crime boss who operates out of Gotham. And there are so many other realistic type of villains you can actually use for the future. You could do Scarecrow again. His abilities of conjuring fears are definitely capable through some psychedelics and drugs. Hush, a highly skilled surgeon. There's even Professor Pig, a psycho serial killer who wears a pig mask as his identity. Then you have the Court of Owls, which is another group of villains that I'm advocating for. The Court of Owls does have certain supernatural things about them. The fact that they've been living underneath Gotham for hundreds of years and that they can bring certain people back from the dead to act as talons. And they have all this different type of technology and serums that keep them alive. You could change up the Court of Owls in a way where it's simply just some sort of Illuminati group that does exist underneath the surface of Gotham City. City. It's just a bunch of old generational rich families who have been running Gotham for years, and as every person dies, it gets passed on to the next, and they have specifically placed but secret hideouts underneath Gotham City. It's doable and, in my opinion, very achievable. I like Hush as the villain for the Batman sequel, and I believe around the time that the first film was coming out, Matt Reeves had a Q&A where he actually talked about Hush, and he said something about how he would love to bring him in this world and that he could see him as a future villain, but that was no guarantee he would be the villain of the second movie. There are a lot of people who would be excited for an official announcement that Hush is the main villain of the sequel, but there are also a lot of people who wouldn't be. A lot of those people would be the people who desperately want to see somehow Mr. Freeze take a part in the future, and a lot of people actually believe that Hush was already used in the first film. There are a lot of people who say Riddler's motivation, who he just was as a character, even kind of the way he dressed in the first film, was way too similar to the actual Hush character. And there are certain things and attributes about that version of Riddler that I absolutely understand, and I can see why they would think that. Although I don't feel, in my personal opinion, that if you used Hush in the next movie, it wouldn't feel exactly the same as the first one with the Riddler. I still think there are things you could do in a second movie with Hush that would feel different from the first film. While there's been all this speculation of Hush, Mr. Freeze, Court of Owls, and so on, it was rumored a couple months ago and a couple weeks ago that Clayface would also be a villain in the Batman 2. It's likely going to be the Golden Age version of Clayface, where he actually isn't made of clay in any way. I believe Golden Age Clayface is just this insane serial killer who was once an ex-actor and gets mad that his original horror film is getting remade in the Hollywood industry, and he wears a Clayface mask and goes around and kills all the ex-people he once worked with, which is really interesting and well suited for what Hollywood does today: remakes and useless sequels for every single thing made under the sun. I'm sure if they were to use Clayface, Matt Reeves would maybe want to add a little bit of a spunk to the character instead of just making him your average psychopathic killer in Gotham City. I don't know, he gets into a bad accident and his face constantly droops, and he's got to do something to keep his face up. You know, it keeps falling down when he's not using the substance or the particular thing holding his face up. Maybe somebody who gets near the Clayface character, doesn't die by him and manages to escape, gives a report to Commissioner Gordon where they say his face kept drooping. It kind of looked like clay. They could do something like that. Although, if you went Clayface and Hush as the two main villains for the next movie, I would be absolutely okay with that, and I think it could work. Also, we have to keep into consideration the Penguin show. Is there going to be anything in that show that maybe signs to a Clayface or a Hush? Maybe they switch things up a little bit and Carlo is actually a hitman for Penguin's mob, and maybe Hush is some sort of black market medical surgeon who only works on crime bosses and warlords, and he gets paid a really pretty penny for keeping his mouth shut, and working off of the black market would help Thomas Elliot do extremely illegal things through surgery processes, which could potentially help him learn of his talent and ability to carve certain people's faces to make up one complete face of somebody else. And then this is where he could potentially recreate Bruce Wayne's face. Still not sure if that's the road Matt Reeves would want to go down, but it's definitely a possibility. There's 100% something you would have to do with Hush, Clayface, or whoever else you want to use for the sequel and the third film, and however many other films they make. You have to keep it similar to the first one in the sense where everything feels very attached and connected to Batman. In the first film, not only did Riddler go after Bruce Wayne, in his mind, he was actively working with Batman. He thought they were a dynamic duo. By the end of that film, Bruce Wayne starts to come around that no matter how dark things are, and even though he operates from within the dark, at the end of the tunnel, there is always a light, and he kind of breaks out of that shell. What I would kind of do for the second film, before he can fully realize the light and almost partake in the light more than he would have before, the second film really needs to lower him down a level again, where he feels like there is no light. Not like I thought there was. Hush and Clayface would either need to actively be attacking Bruce Wayne and the Wayne family along with Batman, but for two separate reasons. There could be many reasons Bruce and Batman would be attacked separately, but for example, Batman, he never goes into his job of being a caped crusader with the idea of bringing hope to the people of Gotham. He operates out of fear. He wants to bring fear to the criminals more than he wants to give hope to the people. What Clayface and Hush could portray is you will never be seen as that hopeful character. You will always be fear. The people of Gotham, the citizens, will always fear you. But for Bruce Wayne, it could obviously just be the simple fact that why aren't people looking at the Waynes as the bad guys? They have had dealings with the Falcones in the past. Bruce Wayne is still here and he's not getting prosecuted in any way. And from Thomas Elliott's perspective, he thinks to himself, his family killed mine. I need to absolutely destroy everything he loves, everything he has, and bring the Wayne family 6 feet underneath. But that's about it, everyone. Just a couple of ideas and theories and certain directions they could take the sequel and where they could go with their villains. If it does happen to be Hush, I am absolutely in for it. You will not see me complaining at all. If Clayface is involved, that's cool as well. You didn't disappoint me on the first one. I think it would be hard to disappoint me on the second one after I've seen what you're capable of doing. But now, guys, let me know in the comments below if you would like to see Hush as the main villain of the second movie, and if you think it's going to happen, or if they're going to go in a different direction. But that is all I have for you on this one, everyone, so I will talk to you all very soon.